Greetings, Michael here again, Gilbert, Arizona, parking lot by the water tower. Uh, this is a verse I run across in 1 Corinthians 15:29. And Brokata Yorubabe Lehinu Hamelekalam. Uh, I hope that the hearts and ears understand this clearly, that I went online on this verse. It's about baptizing the dead. And when I went online, it was like YouTube, of course, and others. It seems like Google Mormonizes it. They're baptizing, says for the dead. And the word for is basically can be translated in the Greek as over. So Mormons take it that you basically become your grandma or become your aunt or your nephew or your friend or your brother or your sister or whatever, and you assimilate your becoming them and assimilating their baptizing for them. Maybe let's get a deeper understanding of the Hebrew mindset. Is, in 1 Corinthians 15:29 it says, uh, if the dead are not raised, why then are you baptizing for the dead? If the dead raised not at all, then why do you baptize? And so let's just take it back to the Tanakh in Ezekiel 37, where it says, Son of man, prophesy over the bones in the valley of dry bones. And, you need to read 1 Corinthians 15, and you can start at verse 29 or before or after, whatever, and then you need to read Ezekiel 37. You need to read the whole chapter and slow down and chew on it. But basically, Ezekiel's prophesying over the bones. So this is pretty simple to me, and breath comes into them, and they're a great big army, and then he says, later on in the text, after the Ruach comes upon them, that they shall live, and he'll bring them in the land. But also, you'll know this by when your graves are open. So Yeshua, Matthew 27:56, I think, he goes to the grave and opens the graves, and many of the saints or men of righteous or the believers, some translations say, came out of the graves and went into the holy city and was seen by many. So the graves are open according to that verse in Matthew. Yeshua did that when he went to the grave. He opened the grave. So basically there's no death. Oh, sting or death, where is your sting? There's none. And we it's like everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. So this is pretty simple to me. But if I slow down a little bit and back to the baptizing of the dead. In the Hebrew mindset, as well as Adam to Yeshua, you put the body in a place where the flesh is basically decayed off of it. And, Israel says, don't let my bones stay here in Egypt. They carried Joseph's bones out of Egypt, what Moses did. It don't say the body, it says the bones. But when you do the Israel culture, a lot of sarcophaguses, these are bone boxes, is what they have in Israel. They take the body and they put it in a place, and they come back around a year later, and all the flesh and everything's gone off the bones, and they gather the bones and they put them in a box. So to me, this 1 Corinthians 15:29 is the very thing that these believers, now that Yeshua is risen, even though the graves are open and many of the righteous or saints or believers come out of the graves, in their mind they're thinking, well, I have family that didn't have a chance to confess Yeshua. As they say, you must confess Yeshua and believe in your heart that he is the Son of Elohim, and therefore you shall not die. You shall have life eternal. So if they wasn't able to do that, then these people are basically baptizing the bones. And then let's say they're prophesying Ezekiel 37 over the bones, and they become alive. And so for my understanding of 1 Corinthians 15:29, using Ezekiel 37, using Matthew 27, verse 56, a light comes upon. Now, I'm not saying that anybody can take the place of Yeshua. It actually says in the biblical text that 1/3 of mankind will utterly be destroyed. It'll be Esau and Edom, which basically Esau is Edom. If you use the Tanakh again to defy or give you definition who Esau and Edom is, Esau is Edom. And so, I don't want to tell you it's Rome, but it sounds like it and it looks like it. My point being is that the baptizing of these bones, if I have many people that say, Michael, pray for my children, they're not saved. And I always use the verse of Paul and Silas being in jail, and the angels show up and break open the jail, and the Roman soldier, who is a guard, who knows he's going to get the death punishment for letting the prisoners escape, he's ready to commit suicide. So Paul and Silas go, hey, no, wait, we're not leaving, it's okay, and he went running down and bowing down to Paul and Silas, say, what do I do to be saved? And Paul says, confess Yeshua as your Messiah, you and your family be saved. And then later on it goes about baptism. But my point being is that the people that say this all the time, I always use that verse. And then I also use Romans 8:38 and 39, where it says there's neither depths, no heights, no angels, no demons, no principalities above, no principalities below. Nothing can separate you from the love of Elohim that's in Messiah Yeshua. So I basically say Yeshua's got, I might name this, the title of this, he's got all the bases covered. Not that I want to use that mindset of sports, but he's basically took care of everything. It's his creation, and it's his responsibility, even in the Hebrew mindset, to, watch over his creation and to save his creation. And that's what we all know, that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is Yeshua, and Yeshua is the salvation. Yeshua T, Yeshua in me. So within all that, I want to justify that I believe that I'm not saying this is a great way to help you or your family understand that maybe nobody is going to hell. Maybe there is judgment upon works, but, if you want to baptize your dead, don't burn them up in a fire. You got ashes, and then the bones can't rattle together and flesh can't come upon them in the 1,000-year millennial reign with him. You might have to wait. There might be spiritual people after that. You might have to wait till the new heaven and new earth, and basically spiritual upon their works. Will they maybe get a new body and a new thing? Because according to the biblical text, there needs to be bones in order for the flesh to come upon them. And so there's a heavenly body and a spiritual body, and flesh and bones cannot inherit the kingdom of Elohim, the heavenly thing. But there's going to be a time when he reigns here on earth. So as he said, when he came back, he showed us his body, and it was exactly like it was supposedly on the cross, even though there was 3 different times that he showed up at least, and maybe sometimes he looked different. I can maybe explain that, but it don't really say that he actually looked different. It just says people didn't really recognize him. And so Thomas had to put his holes in the hands and his rib side to clarify that it was Yeshua. And so why do you have to do that? I mean, he hung out with a guy for 3.5 years. You would think, yeah, I can tell, by your voice, by your look, by your smell, whatever, your actions, by your glory. But no, Thomas had to poke his hands, doubting Thomas, as it said, had to poke his hands in his nail holes, and sword punctures. So within all that, I hope I didn't forget anything, but what I'm trying to say is that if you have any doubt, the adversary of this world is trying to bring glory to himself and keep everybody held captive, and that's why we were bought for a price. If we had to be bought, then why did who were we sold to? Well, we were sold to the adversary, to the accuser, to the Satan, to the animal, to the Nakash, to the serpent, whatever you want to call him, to the evil one, to Satan. And so we had to be bought by Yeshua's blood in order to be redeemed from the ways of this world and this world. And the same way with the Exodus, the people put the blood on the mantle, on the doorpost, two doorposts, and the lintel, which is over the top of the door. So that resembles a cross to me, actually two crosses. And so justifying the thief who confessed and the other one didn't make it, but Yeshua and the thief, it's right there in the Exodus. It's amazing, chapter 12, 11, I think, 11 or 12. But anyway, you need to read, need to study. Within all that, I actually do believe that Yeshua has everything taken care of. And you don't have to worry about anything, because the book of Revelation says 1/3 of mankind will utterly be destroyed, Esau and Edom. So within all that, but if you have a doubt, digging up of the bones, somehow, or in the future reference, you have somebody that passes and you're not sure, get the flesh off of them or whatever and get them baptized. The bones, we need to go back to quit burying people on the ground and do like Israel does and put them in a bone box, sarcophagus. I mean, why should we lay people in dirt? Abraham had a cave he went to. It was stoned out. And then, like I said, I guarantee his bones were put in a box after the flesh rotted away. So just pounce on the adversary and quit joining hands with a unjust, pork-eating, ham, bacon, all the unclean things the world has to offer, and think you can interpret the Bible that, the old is done away with and now we have the new. Well, if you don't use the both together, you need 2 or 3 witnesses. You have to witness with what's written in the first place. He didn't come to make a new religion. He come to redeem the ones he started in the first place, his Exodus program, his people that he redeemed. He come to, for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So anyway, baptize of the dead. Forget the way anybody else does it. Use the Tanakh. You prophesy over the bones. You baptize the bones. If you have any doubt in your mind, whether your children or your family is going to the place where Christians say is Hell, it's actually the garbage dump outside of the holy city. You're not really entered in the blessing part. You're going to be out where the gashing the teeth is. But the harvest is at the end of the world too, so that's another thing you can think about. But within all that, like I said, Yeshua, it's all in his word. And if you can't use his word and stand on his word, then you might as well just shake your hands and be just like all of the rest of the unbelieving people in the world. You just might as well just walk away and say, hey, that's it. But if you're a so-called Christian or a Bible-believing person, or, grafted into Israel or Israel itself, you need to use the biblical text as your reference to life. And all the things in it are written for the purpose, and it's nothing but a blessing. It's clear understanding. There's no jumping around. You can look at the English or whatever language you're in, and then go to the Hebrew, and you'll find the deeper mystical understanding. But my point being is Yeshua has covered his creation. He loves us, and we need to learn to love him and build treasure in heaven. And within that, may Yahweh bless and, may Yodevavhe Baruch, Yehovah Baruch bless you, and may Yeshua fill your everlasting heart. Within all that, by the Allah Tav Dam Shea, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen and Amen.